Well, very good morning to you all on this Sunday, this first Sunday in December, where we are celebrating both our Advent season as well as Donna Smith's talk for the bowl burning ceremony, which I found to be very moving. Welcome, Donna, and thank you so much for being
Thank
with
you.
us. Yeah,
Thank
and I
you.
think Laura Lee wanted to go first.
Uh, Thank you. I really appreciated the talk, Donna. It was very enlightening and very heartwarming. I really think the theme song should have been "Let It Go, Let It Go, Let It Go."
For anybody
can't-
wondering, she was trying to sing the song from
Let
Frozen.
it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, let it snow. Let
I
it
want you to know that Michael did not inherit my musical ability, which is zilch. But anyway, Donna, thank you so much. I really appreciated it.
Thanks, Laura Lee. Yes, I wanted to have a song about releasing and letting go, but Michael pointed out that we really can't do that because we get dinged, I guess, or something
Yeah.
from YouTube about using other people's music.
Yeah.
So we have to be kind of careful about that.
It's
And-
unfortunate. Yeah.
I shouldn't have sung it. They probably sue me for.
I think we're okay. I think
I-
we have to kind of just use the whole song and incorporate it when we,
Yeah.
I guess, maybe don't have permission or something.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right.
How
We're
about,
resilient. We can go forth. Yes.
that's right. That's right. Yes. Well, it was still meaningful. Laleen wanted to say something.
I do, Michael. I kind of wanted to say it before we get into a deeper discussion about the sermon itself. I do not know whether all the graphics were done by you or a combination of you and Lucy. I just want to say how much I really appreciated all of the care and attention and thoroughness and selection that went into the graphics. It's like you, without anyone else knowing it, except the small little tiny committee, you sort of laid out what was going to happen for the entire month. And your selection of, something for several somethings for Hanukkah and for Kwanzaa, and of course the focus on Christmas,
Mhm.
and then a little paganism.
Mhm.
It just all flowed, and
Well,
it flowed so gently and so smoothly. I could just kind of feel the season flowing. And I know that's nothing that we talked about in committee. So, again, it's your creativity. And I just want to acknowledge that and thank you.
oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah. And all of these kind of the designated holy times or holiday times is an opportunity to do something different, so that's, it's a lot of fun to put those together. So thank you.
It's wonderful to have your creativity.
No, you're too good to me. Go ahead, JC.
I second that.
Yeah.
I loved it too.
Oh.
I too enjoyed that part, but a part of it I missed because I was not happy with the thing about that ideas expressed here are not a part of this church's thing.
Right.
That's so not us. So
do we have board members here?
You have me.
Oh, hey, oh, there's Connie. Yeah. That was a board decision. So
Well, I don't know about the wording of it, but this had to do with a sermon quite a while ago where there's some statement that the board wanted that said the I guess that the talks weren't necessarily the view, mostly the view of the congregation.
Mhm.
So I don't know, maybe that could be expressed in a different way.
I used the text that Megan sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's,
So-
maybe that
Mhm.
because I can't remember specifically. It might have been a sermon by Dennis. I can't remember. I think you
Yeah.
and I talked about it a little bit, Michael.
We did, yeah.
So it's some kind of statement that actually was trying to express that our views weren't narrow, that our views. So I don't know. Somebody can come up with a better statement. That's
Okay.
all
I can see what it might be,
Mhm.
that this church welcome or considers all points of view
Yeah,
and as valid for the person saying them, something along that line, rather than saying the negative,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the
which
board,
is truly challenging because we're all saying how wonderful her thing was, Donna's thing was, and this is the first time that's been on there, as if there's going to be some sort of violent stuff coming up.
right.
And,
A violent Donna would be something
It
to
seems
behold.
very, in opposition, it seems very in opposition to our 7 principles.
Yeah.
That was
Well-
what I had difficulty with. And maybe we could play with the wording and try to find if
Yeah.
we have to do something.
right, we can do that.
And maybe we could put it at the end.
I think it should be at the end. That's my
Well,
opinion.
you can let the board know, and maybe the
We
board
just
can
did.
wordsmith it a little bit, and yeah.
I know that it can be written as if it is a
Well,
part
I
of
would
what we do believe.
like someone else to, I would like one of you to write your idea.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll do that and send it to the board to see if that
Yeah.
satisfies.
Yeah,
Okay.
send it to me.
Okay. Great. Does somebody want to talk about the service?
Well, yeah, I put down the same thing that I need to lose that I've been putting down for a couple of days, a couple of weeks or years now. I'll give it the shot, see how it goes.
Well, Donna, I have to say that, of course I was there to record it, so I heard your talk a couple times. And for anybody who only listened to it once, I will tell you that I heard something new from it every time I went through it. And
Mhm.
tell me if I'm off on this thought. But one of the things that I really got from your talk was a rejection of victim mentality, right? And this is one thing that concerns me about our culture currently, is that it seems like we have assigned a certain amount of social capital to the status of victimhood. And
Mhm.
I am firm in rejecting that. Am I off on that? Am I on, or could you comment on that?
From the bottom of my heart, I truly believe from everything I've ever done and learned and experienced that victimhood is a choice that you make. When you make that, you have given your power to someone else, and that is not going to be life enhancing for you, because as soon as you lose your power, everyone else is controlling you.
Right.
And the thing about victimhood is it is a choice. Okay, you can go into that experience if you so choose. But in reality, you're not a victim as long as you stay empowered in who you truly are.
Right.
And the resources that we give to what you may call victims, the hungry or whatever you want, I personally don't think there's anything wrong with that. But we have to also, beyond that, try to help people get their power back, empower them, to bring themselves out of that kind of consciousness. But as long as you're in that kind of consciousness, you've lost your power.
Yeah.
And, and that's the sad part, because when you do that and you don't realize you've done that, people tend to stay within that kind of experience.
Mhm.
And So they need help to get out of it, though. They
Yep.
do need help. And that's why we help each other. That's why we do these things right now, like what we're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, Laleen, go ahead.
Thank you for using the word victim, because I found myself going to a place that I haven't really understood before about something that I hold on to that I can hold on to for a really long time, because I never understood its sourcing, but I never would have thought of the word victim until now. What I found myself going into was I found myself willing to release unforgiveness. Now, why would I want to release unforgiveness? And when I really started going deeper into that, I realized that that unforgiveness was coming from places where I have felt not accepted for me. I have felt accused wrongly. I've been dismissed and been disapproved of. And I just found myself flashing all the way back to childhood, to not being my mother's dream girl, to being a tomboy, to emerging into, a young little baby dyke, and then coming out in my teen years and becoming a lesbian. And, we're talking the 50s and the 60s and, into the 70s. And through those years, there was a lot about me that wasn't approved of. And yet I found at this age today, the what's left of that is that I'm unforgiving of those people who have really attacked in some way either something about me I can't change, won't change, part of me, or they've done whatever they've done because they don't know me, I mean, I could make it light and fluffy, and I could say, oh yeah, well, someone has attacked me because I'm ultra liberal, but I don't mean at that level. I really do mean at deeper depths. And so I've never understood why things I felt I have resolved years ago about how I feel about myself, about who I am, I'm okay with me. And yet there's still this unforgiveness lagging around when someone overpowers me with their belief, their anger about who I am or who I should be. And so I realized, Michael, when you said that word, and I didn't understand it when we were doing the service, that I've put myself in a victim place and not even known that it's so old. So thank you for helping me clarify that.
Same thing happened for me. I won't go into it, but the same thing. Oh yeah, that's a victim. Oh shit. Well, I can deal with victim.
Yeah. And it's, and another thing about all this whole process is lots of times we do not understand what it's about even. No. And so that's why sometimes you think, well, I let that go and boom, here it comes up again. It's another layer to that you hadn't maybe processed before when you thought you processed it. I know for me, it took me 2 years to let go of one thing that happened because I had to go through all of those layers. But the thing that's really important that I found when you're going through those layers and you are truly, I guess, have the strength and the courage to really look at them, what you're doing is not only just forgiving the other, but you, in doing that, are coming more fully into your awareness of who you are, your strength, your courage. And in that process, those things that really bothered you before, that started the whole thing, become less important.
Oh.
In other words, I don't care what you say about me. I know who I am. Okay. And I'm very happy with who I am. And normally when people are putting you down for something you are, it's because they're insecure about who they are. And it really has nothing to do with you. But in that process of the forgiving, that's what happens. You realize that. And then eventually all of those things will get to the point where they don't even bother you because you are so strong in who you are. But
Well,
it's a
it's also
process.
that
It's a
onion.
process. You know,
It's
it's
also
not like
that
something's going to
onion
happen
layer.
overnight. And
It's
so,
also that onion layer, because
yeah,
what might be happening recently would be the outer layer, but maybe what's really fueling it, which is what I found, was take all that back, and I'm going back to really young stuff that I didn't even have the resources to handle in any way, shape, at the time.
exactly.
So when you put those two things together in the image of the onion, it made it so easy to see, oh, it's not this top layer. I'm an adult. I got all kinds of skills.
Yeah. See, the universe is going to give you all kinds of opportunities to get down there where it really counts. Okay. And and that's the beauty of it. You know, if you can go with that and be really, really with your feelings, because you never deny your feelings, you be with them.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to learn from them. And that's where you're going to be able to say, okay, you know, this doesn't bother me anymore. And I'm going to let go because no, it has nothing to do with who I am, truly am, you know. But it was a wonderful experience to help me to get there. I mean, it might have been painful. You might not have liked it and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, I have to say, you don't have to like to let them go. You know, it's not like you have to fall in love with them and all of that. No, you don't have to like it, but you can let it go, you know, and understand why it happened. That's the important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the quote that I always go back to is the Albert Camus in his essay The Myth of Sisyphus, where he's quoting from Oedipus Rex. And you know, at the end of the play, Oedipus Rex, he's gouged his eyes out, he's reflecting on a life of just predetermined tragedy, and he says that despite everything that's happened, I still say that all is well. You know, and this idea that in the end it is up to you, you know, even if things are done to you, it's still up to you whether or not you're going to how you're going to view your life.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Everything is always up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't really understand that. But it really is up to you, however you look at anything that happens in your life. Your choice.
Yeah.
Choice.
Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, go for it, Sharon.
I have many things to share, and if I sound incoherent, somebody stop me to get me back on track.
Okay.
So
We'll slap you.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Oh, I don't want this to be a pity party, but you need a little bit of background. I have 3 children, 2 of which are daughters. One daughter stays in close contact with me and is just a joy and delight, kind person. And my second daughter ran away from home when she was 16. And I finally realized that because of that lost time with her, she didn't get my full parenting as a mother. And so for the next 27 years, I've been trying to fill in those gaps. And at times she shuts me out and lets me dangle for several months. I don't hear from her, don't know anything about what's going on in her life. And 2020 has been an extremely challenging year for her and for me, because of my own stuff, but also because she would tell me everything about her stuff. And then in October, she said she didn't want to communicate. And for a change,
Mhm.
I didn't pressure her. So I had to release her. And to decide to do that was the hard thing. But to actually release her turned out to be easy. So prior to that, I felt like a yo-yo. She would let me down, walk the dog a little bit, and then jerk me back up. Does that make sense to people?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not that I'm a yo-yo aficionado, but that part I remember. And I thought I had resolved before that I had let her go to do her own thing. But I realize now my efforts at empowering her were keeping us engaged. I could not solve her mental health. I could not keep her alive. We're 2,000 miles away. I couldn't even observe how she looked because I didn't see her. I haven't seen her for 5 years because she has rejected my efforts to visit her. So that's where I was. But once I released her, I didn't engage at all. And in that time,
I'm listening to this.
I've gotten one email, text message, I love you. And I responded the same.
Right.
And she's posted twice on Facebook, of which I did not reply. They were not personal messages. And you know, it was within 2-3 days after I decided this in October to let her go and not reach out and try to encourage her, tell her how wonderful she is and that she can handle whatever's going on. I became more productive. I started to clean up my place, which I hadn't been able to do because of my sprained back since August. And I was really happy with that cleansing, so to speak. And this past week, I have sorted through all my clothes to get rid of what I don't need. So that has been very wonderful, but it sure did take me a long time. And I'm not positive I will remain committed to it because I do have relapses. But I want to remember, Michael, I appreciate the reminder of Albert Camus, is all is well. All is well. Because I am in charge of me. I can't be in charge of her or anybody else. So hopefully I will remember the next time you ask me how I am. My reply will be all is well. So thank you for listening.
And Sharon, that's a perfect example of sometimes it takes a while to let things go. But it was like all of a sudden, you know, you were there, you were ready, you were willing. And then what happened was you regained a lot of your energy, didn't you? And because that was just dragging your energy down, those kind of things. But, you know, I don't remember where this came from, but if you love it, you have to release it. You know, you have to let it be what it is. And it sounds like you kind of did that. You released your daughter to be who she is. And she's already responding back to you because she feels that too. Yeah. So.
But you know, I thought I was the master of loving it and letting it go. I deceived myself.
Yeah. I think, you know, when we try to love something so much that we want it to be a certain way, that's where we lose the grip on things. And we end up wanting someone to be the way we want them to be. And, you know, that it never works. You know, it might work for a short time, but then in the end, it doesn't work You have to just let them go to be who they are. And I think you just took a big step, and that's wonderful. And if you do go back, that's all right. Just go back and deal with it, and, you know, look forward to doing it again. Again, there are layers, and maybe you have another layer to look at. We don't know that, but you will know. You will know when it happens. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing. That was wonderful.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for listening. I forgot what I was going to comment. So that's okay.
The dynamic of parents and children, I seriously doubt you're alone
Right.
in those struggles. Yeah. Connie.
Excuse me, Michael.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's really interesting. When I first got to the UU congregation, UUU,
Mhm.
I thought, oh, nobody's got the dilemma I've got. Nobody's got the trials I have.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we are a group of people with estranged relationships.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But we have each other. So
Thankfully.
Connie wanted to say something.
Well, this came out of Donna's talk, a sentence, and I underlined it and circled it. Is this an energy I want to maintain? You can hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I think Sharon gave us a good example of that, in that when she was able to let go, she all of a sudden had this energy. And I think one of the things we can really do is where Donna talked about get out of your head and connect with your heart. I think that practice helps us tune into our energy. And instead of mentally trying to solve it and do all of this, sometimes just by tuning into our heart, we see what kind of energy that's creating. And that's kind of, for me, that's where I began. If it's a bunch of fretting and hand wringing and all of that kind of energy, that's where I start. Like, look what this is doing to me. Now, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah, sadly, it looks like we just lost Donna. Yeah, I don't know if she had a technical problem. I'm getting, okay, I thought I was getting a text from her. But yeah, I guess, maybe we can just open that up to the floor. She's trying to come back in. But does that spark an idea with anyone?
There's Donna.
Mm-hmm.
It just went away for a moment. Sorry.
That's okay. Connie, do you want to summarize what you just said?
Well, Donna, I was talking about the part of the service where you made this statement. Is this an energy I want to maintain? And also the sentence of bringing our attention from our head to our heart. To me, those two things go together. That if we're focused on what kind of energy, what's happening to us, we're more focused on our heart than our head. And as a way to do that, as a way to focus more on our heart, what I do is tune in on my energy. And that's the fastest way for me to see what I'm up to.
Me too. It's how I feel right here in my heart that tells me. And then that's when you can say, well, I really don't like that energy. And it's not about judging yourself about that energy. It's just making a different choice. So if you're feeling energies like that, don't be down on yourself. Just say, I think I'll choose something else, because I'm not really happy with that. But yeah.
And I think we all notice when someone is upset and has this negative energy coming at us, we feel like it's a woodpecker, you know,
Yeah.
trying to get away from that. And sometimes I think we just need to say something to the person about their energy, not them or what they're saying, but oh my gosh, you know, the energy you're giving out right now is doing such and such to me. And sometimes just helping people and ourselves, you know, connect with what kind of energy we're throwing out there.
Yeah, and sometimes you can even feel that in your energy after the people have left the room even,
Yeah.
because it is an energy and it's very much alive until it dissipates somehow. And you know, it just takes so much more effort to keep the negative energies than it does to you know, choose the, I guess, more positive, life enhancing is the word I like to use, energies. Because they just come so much easier and is lighter, where, you know, to continue to stay angry takes so much energy and so much just so much out of your life, really.
Right.
So yeah, thank you, Connie.
Yeah, and I would add that not only does it take so much out of your life, but it is also physically painful, you know, to either be the recipient of that kind of energy or the person holding that kind of energy. And I would say, you know, in my struggles with grief, there had been periods where it would have been no problem at all for me to sleep for literally days just because of the exhaustion of the experience.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that, you know, and it goes back to what Sharon was talking about, is like all of a sudden, you know, Sharon, you were talking about being able to clean, or, you know, that letting go of this was at least it seemed like it was a healthy step.
Yes,
Right.
it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I'm not above calling on people. So okay. Glennis, go for it.
Well, I'll try not to go into the whole sordid thing, but last year, I was crushed pretty much by some things that happened, and one person in particular. And I had thought that I really had dealt with it and let it go and processed the whole thing. And when I started to decorate my Christmas tree, or when I got more into it, I came across a Christmas topper for the tree that my father had given me in 1982. And that was the year he died, on Christmas Day of 82. And so that topper meant a lot to me. Well, last year, this person took the topper without asking me and spray painted it and put glitter on it and pretty much kind of destroyed it, even though it was worn and it was the way it was, you know, and I was fine. And the whole anger of the stuff that she, you know, put me through last year came back. And it's like, I thought I dealt with this. And sure enough, I thought, well, do I put this topper on here or not? And I put the topper on there, and it's like, I can look at that now and not even think about it, not even worry about it. Why? Because putting that topper on there, I let it go. The last vestige of what I thought that I had already let go was still there and was still ready to be released. And so now I can look at that and say, I win. I feel, you know, I feel fine about that topper now, you know.
Great. Yes.
But it was something that I actually think that there were layers to it that I actually needed to revisit and let it go in layers, rather than think, oh, it's all done, and because it wasn't. And that's true of another few things that happened. And again, I could say happened to me, but I could also say no, because it is my response to it. You know, it is how I respond to it, which is important. And whether it is something that's going to take over my life and pretty much, you know, poison it, or am I going to just let this all go and everything's fine, and I can look at that topper and think of my father and not the person who painted it. I mean, it seems trifling, but it's an example of what I think part of letting go of things is. You know, there's sometimes there are layers, and like Lillian said, an onion that you have to keep peeling back. And okay, yeah, I can let that part go now. You know, that's it.
That's perfect. And that's a perfect example. Instead of this happened to me, this happened for me.
Mhm.
And then to find, that part that is, and it's really always truly for you, but that's sometimes difficult to figure out. But that's a perfect example, Glynis. Thank you.
Martha.
Just hearing all of this made me think of an event way back when I was a young mother. Yes, I was young once. And my daughter's preschool teacher, I think she was maybe 3.5, 4. One of the things she said to me, take your wind out of her sails.
Your way.
I think how much of our wind goes into the sails of somebody else and helps propel them along. And that was the beginning, I think, of I want to say common sense, but in the first beginning to me to think in a more powerful way of behaving, coming from parents of the old school, the time of roughness and World War II and all. You did what they said, not what really you felt like you wanted to do, and were you not ever really listened to, kind of thing. And so I was trying to parent, like I didn't really know. I was trying to parent like I didn't want to parent like I was parented, but I didn't know. So that was a good point for me. And over time, it's not always been successful, but I see a lot of parents still putting their wind in their children's sails. And we do put our wind into other people's sails, and it's not a good thing for us. It takes your power away. So that's my 2 cents.
Yes. Thank you, Martha. Yes.
I mean, but
We have a great propensity, should I say, to want others to be like we want them to be. Yes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just parents, though. I can't tell you how many students I've had that I tried to save. It's like the lesson that you end up learning over and over and over again is you can't save anyone. You can help people, but
it's the old, you can take a horse to water, but you
Right.
can't make it drink.
Right.
And that often comes to the back of my head
Mhm.
when things don't happen the way I think they should.
Yeah. I think the main thing I try to remember is I'm here to save myself and learn. And that's the biggest job ever. So if I stick with that, I'm safe. Yeah, because I've learned, that the other way too, trying to change people, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Connie.
Martha, I have a good ending to your quote.
Oh, good.
Take your wind out of her sail and teach her skills to sail her own boat.
There you go.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Yeah, I tried to do that. It was really hard trying to.
No, you would. And that's what I was kind of trying to point out.
You know me too well. Yeah.
That you would have figured out that that's really what you needed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was hard with a very extrapolating kind of child.
Yeah. Looks like JC. That's something.
There's something that I just want to throw in here because it's part of what Donna said. Let's remember when we're giving things up, there's an element of belief that is the main anchor that has hooked us. Because if you're just doing something that isn't working and you're making a change, that makes sense. But if you're having to let go of something that you felt was essential to your not being a victim in the world, You're talking about a belief, and we're dealing with a whole bunch of people who have a belief in a crazy person in our country right now.
I don't think you should.
Belief, we're dealing, not just an idea. And so it's the same thing as asking them to give up something that's anchored in them. And what we're talking here, I mean, for me, the things I wrote down, I know they're anchored. What I heard from Sharon, your anchor in the idea that you were her mother and therefore had a job.
I don't think you should be you should be so mean to Joe Biden supporters, JC.
Or whatever, you know, but no matter what, it is a belief. When that man started talking sensibly, I just melted. Really. So I have a belief, and so do the others. But that's the point. Sometimes we just think it's a thought. It isn't a thought. If it's hanging around that long and gives you that much energy, it's a belief. And you have to deal with them respectfully.
Yeah. Facts do not change person's beliefs. I heard that the other day and it really made a lot of sense.
You don't think so?
When somebody is strongly in believing of something, whatever you feel is the truth is not going to assuage their belief.
No, right.
Well, okay, Lillian, I see you, but Donna, did you want to comment on that? I'm sorry, I couldn't help but make a joke.
Yeah.
What I do know is sometimes we can get so stuck in our beliefs that we can't see anything else.
Yes.
And that's normally because, they have been so ingrained that we can't even begin to see beyond those. And so to the people who have those beliefs, they seem perfectly sane and perfectly reasonable, while others look at it and say, how in the world could they believe that? Because they come from a whole different, perspective of life. And I struggle with some of those beliefs out there myself, but what really helps me is I just, I have to remember what mine are and what are my beliefs based on, am I believing this because, I'm coming from fear? Do I believe this because I'm coming from, the strength of love and whatever? So that's the questions I ask myself. But another thing is I don't have to agree with them. I don't have to really accept them. Again, you have to go within and be really true to yourself with that. We're not going to change anybody else. Everybody has to change themselves, and so I think the best thing that we can do is be that energy that is, again, I use the word life enhancing because I think that's the best word I can find for it. I don't like to use positive and negative too much, but if it's life enhancing, then do it. But you can't change those people. Sometimes even the facts right in someone's face can't change it because they're not ready to accept them.
Right.
They're just not ready. They don't, they think it's a lie, even though it's a fact. So, yeah, we can get all upset about all that, or we can stay strong in who we are. And I try to just stay strong in who I am and, put that out into the world. And sometimes I'll walk away from something because I can't stay there, and I'm certainly not going to say something, that's going to hurt somebody. So I'll walk away, and that's the best I can do.
Yeah.
That's the right way.
Lillian. And then Connie.
That was kind of similar along the lines of what Donna was just saying. It's really important to me to try to understand where along a continuum of response I might need to be and what that would look like to me. What JC and I laughed about a minute ago is sometimes the extreme of that continuum is my old thing about my Shirley Temple curls when I was 4 years old. And no matter what my pleading or what my explaining or my rationale was, my mother wanted Shirley Temple for a daughter and I was it. So I got the scissors and I cut them off to resolve that. And sometimes we just have to cut a situation off. We have to just say, I don't have the power to change this person in any way, shape, or form. But other times, you know, if you look along that continuum, sometimes I remind myself that I might be knocking on a door that's not going to open to me for whatever reason. Either the person's belief or feelings or whatever are so strong, they're not open, they're not accessible, whatever the reason, I just need to stop knocking. I just need to stop scratching. I just need to do whatever that thing is, you know, that I keep doing to try to get that person to change so that person will in some way respond to me or be different. And then when I continue to move along the continuum, I think about kids and I realize there is so much we don't know about what happens to our kids growing up when we think about relationships and how they've turned out with our kids as adults. And I was thinking about Sharon. I was thinking about what happens when you lose contact with a kid that's 15 years old and a teenager in everything there is and probably immature at the time anyway. That relationship almost freezes at that point in time. And as you continue as an adult, you know, to try to make contact, could be that 40-year-old 15-year-old is still looking at you like, you know, she's 15. And I see beliefs being that way, you know, we form beliefs about things based on all kinds of things, but sometimes we hold on to beliefs that have never really been examined. So sometimes I encounter someone whose beliefs are so rigid and so frozen in place that again, you know, what's the point? And then there's the other end of the continuum, which Donna and I and Jason and I talked about, and that's where, you know, yes, you don't know what to do, you know, and so I just kind of walk around town, you know, just being friendly to people that I encounter, be they in a grocery store or we're out on a walk or whatever, just find that human thread of contact, you know, that joint connected humanity where I can relate. And to me, I think about community kindness. We're not going to change this community in bulk, in mass, in any way, shape, or form. But if every contact we have, every minute of every day, we're contacting other people we don't know, if those are met with kindness or at least friendliness, then maybe over time we can soften what it feels like in our town, you know, in our home. So that's kind of my solution to that. Just, I try not to get rigid because it's really easy. And you don't always have curls you can cut off.
I know that, you know, in nonviolent communication, it teaches we all have the same needs and feelings. And so, you know, when people are that far apart, there are some needs and feelings that are the same and that can be experienced right in that moment. So it's nice to try to find those. And then that begins that icebreaker, I guess, maybe to help, like you were saying, just be human, just be, you know, willing to be vulnerable sometimes. But yeah, just try to understand instead of change is probably a big step.
Yeah. Connie.
Well, I had two things. One is some of you might remember when we did a little workshop with Annie, and it was kind of an exercise in writing what I believe. And what was interesting after that was over, what came out of that was how easy it was for each one of us to write about what we didn't believe.
Yeah.
So easy. But when Annie was guiding us to write our own beliefs, I think the thing that Laline brought up, the idea that we have beliefs that we ourselves haven't examined. And I think that's what happened to us. We started trying to write our beliefs, and some of those, we came to that exact realization that Laline brought up. And so it made me think that these people who we think believe so differently than us, maybe we haven't spent enough time not just trying to listen to what they believe, but trying to help them express to us why they believe that. Like, where did that come from? So thank you both, Martha and Laline.
It's pretty interesting, you know, sometimes when you ask somebody, what do you want? So many times it's, I want someone else to do something different. It is so hard for them to say, what do I want? Well, what do I want? And they don't even know, but they certainly know what they want someone else to be or do or whatever, or to say. And so when you can go in and really, you know, go into your heart and say, what do I want? Then you're getting in contact with yourself. And that's the most important person you need to be in contact with and understand. But yeah, it's really hard to get people to really express what they want.
Yeah, I can say from personal experience, I know that to be true, because if anybody were to ask me, I've asked myself, what do I want? I have, you know, my mind is a blank on that completely. So,
Yeah. Or how do you feel?
yeah. Well, that's a little bit more specific. I can do that.
Yeah. Some people say, I don't know how I feel. That was a good one for my ex-husband. So.
Yeah. Well, we still have a little bit of time. Kim or Joanne or Paul, you know. Okay, Joanne. How about Joanne, then Kim?
So as a side note, Deepak Chopra once said that as a young man growing up, his mother always taught him, no matter where he went to visit, to bring a gift, even if it's just a flower. So when I'm downtown walking someplace or whatnot, and I see people, my gift to them is, I give you a good day, I wish you a good day, something in that manner. To what we're talking about today, I thought to myself for quite a while, how can I forgive that other person or people? I'm the victim. I'm the victim. And over again, I'm the victim. Well, as things have progressed nicely for me, I'm feeling more and more that the more I forgive the other person, I forgive myself, and I am so much happier.
Yes. Because, you know, so often those things that you can't forgive in another are really things that you need to be healed, that need to be healed within yourself. Right. And that's, I know that's a difficult one to examine, but it's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah. Looks like Kim might get the last word for today.
Okay. I have two different points. The first point is, if I heard you guys correctly, when you're talking about different opinions, sometimes I don't think people listening to what a person is saying, you disagree with them. They're too short and saying, well, where's the proof on it kind of attitude. And so that's why sometimes it's kind of awkward to talk to people about if you know you for sure have different opinions on it. Case in point, my sister who lives in Arkansas had past tense, a boyfriend she was really interested in, except that there was one little problem she saw. He was totally liberal and she's totally conservative. And said one little thing. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? And she says she could not live with walking around talking on eggshells because he's so up into where's the proof? Where's the proof? Well, it doesn't matter. It's her opinion versus his opinion. And so she called it off. So, you know, you have to be able to somebody knowing that you don't agree with them at all. You're never going to agree with them. And there's no point in making them feel bad because they have the opinion, you have your opinions. So that's what I got out of that part. Now, the second point I have is that this talk kind of got to me because I've been struggling with grief for over 3 years. And that's primarily the reason why I get the tree up early, because it kind of helps me in that area. I do really good on the tree until I get to the tree topper. And because one thing my husband would put up, I do everything else. Like he would get the tree down because I couldn't get the tree down, but then I put it up, I put all the ornaments on, I do everything. And I couldn't reach the tree topper, so he would put it up on there. So now I have to stop every year and like, oh, I can't, I have to do it now. So it's a process I have to go through on my own. And it's the reason why I wear the little necklace to remind me that I got to be cheerful at this time of year.
Yeah. And it's really helpful to have those little things that remind us. Yeah. Yeah, because we can forget easily too. Thank you, Cam.
Yeah. And you know, for the first thing that you said, you know, dogmatism, right? That regardless of what your beliefs are, I think we all run a risk of being dogmatic, you know, of believing that we are the only ones that have the truth and other people, you know, and that's a danger. And I think that's why to some degree our society is as divided as it is. You know, so yeah, you know, let in burning things, let's perhaps burn our dogmatism. You know?
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. I wish we could have done this as a group, but you know, you can do it at home too.
Oh geez, my cat. Donna, can you send us off with something?
Well, I think that I really like that song, only we're going to change the words. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And you know, as Sharon was saying, you're going to feel so much lighter because that heavy energy is gone. And this is what's going to help you continue to really live life and be creative and experience it the way that, you know, it was really meant for us to experience, and we've bogged ourselves down in all this other stuff. So I hope that all of you can join me. I have a few things I'm releasing too. And just go into this brand new year, 2021, with, you know, new dreams, new hopes, new aspirations, and just being lighter, because we're letting go of all of that energy. We just got to let go of that heavy energy and start living our lives in joy. That's how I'm looking forward to going into 2021. And I thank you all for being here. I love our discussions. I love them very much. And I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, well, I know I speak for everyone when I say right back at you. We love you too. And it's always a blessing to hear what you have to say. And to everyone else, have a beautiful week, and we will see you next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.